wait a few minutes to help people kind of hop on, and then we're going to get started. Got a lot to talk about. Um, Join in the comments if you can throughout the podcast, and that way we're doing a random comment generator. It'll pick 3 random people to get a SpoilerTV Podcast t-shirt. So make sure you participate in the chat in order to be able to partake in that. So that's exciting. Just wait a couple more minutes. Hi, Colin. All right. Lots to talk about today. Super excited to dish on some of these shows because I feel like this was a really big week for TV. Like, I feel like the shows were really heavy this week. I don't know. For me, Found was big. Fire Country, big. I don't know how you felt about yours, but definitely feeling like, I don't know, lots happened this week.
Yeah. NCIS was so good again. Origins. It was so good. I just like every episode finding out more and more. So really enjoying that. So I can't wait to talk about that. And then obviously Sophia Bush joined Grey's Anatomy in a character that I wasn't expecting. So excited to talk about that too.
Big week for that, for sure. I know people had mixed reactions. I know we talked about this before, but for those just hopping on, we're just going to give people a couple minutes to get on. So we're just kind of chatting, and then we'll get into the bulk of the show. But yeah, people had mixed reactions about her joining the show, right? We talked about that before, about how people were excited. Hi, Susanna. We were excited to have her on, but at the same time, adding more people to the cast when they're not giving airtime, So
we're
for those of you that are
people.
Well, this is true.
So it's going to be interesting.
Totally. We're going to chat more about that when we talk about Grey's Anatomy, but just to those that just joined, please make sure to comment, even just say hi or something, because we have a random comment generator that's going to pick 3 random people to win SpoilerTV podcast t-shirts. So you got to make sure to comment in order to
interact with us.
Exactly. Interact with us. That's the whole thing about the live, is we need people to interact. We're just going to give a couple more minutes, and then we can get started. All right. So if you're just joining us, we're just waiting a minute to get started. Dishing about this week of TV. Earlier, we ran a poll on our Twitter page to see what people wanted to hear about. And so we are talking about your faves this week. And again, don't forget to comment, even just to say hi, so that we can pick a winner, 3 winners for some podcast merch. All right. Well, we're going to get started. People, please stay with us if you join. We're really excited to have you all here for the very first live episode of the SpoilerTV Podcast. We've been really excited to have this event. And again, this episode is all about the shows you voted for in our X poll. So we can't wait to dish about them in real time with you. So you pick the lineup, and we're ready to break down every big moment from those shows this week. And like I said earlier, this was a really big week for TV. And that's not all. Like I said, if you comment today, you have a chance to win a SpoilerTV Podcast t-shirt. And just so you know, this contest is not affiliated with YouTube in any way. So this is solely run by SpoilerTV Podcast, SpoilerTV, not affiliated with YouTube in any way. But keep those comments coming if you want to win. So for this week's episode, I'm with Jessica, and Susanna's moderating comments for us. How are you doing today, Jess?
Good. I'm exhausted. This time change really messed me up. So I've been going to bed so early lately. So I'm like trying to catch up on my TV shows, like while I'm awake and taking care of kids and working. So that's been a lot, but Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Good. Any big TV news moments for you this week? I know you're excited about one big thing.
Yes, I'm very excited about Sophia Bush joining Grey's Anatomy, and then
Totally.
super, super excited, as I mentioned earlier, about the NCIS Origins episode. It was so good this week.
Yeah.
I feel like this has made me like branch out and try TV shows that I never usually would watch, and I'm really loving the show. So it's been
That's
nice.
awesome. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about always the leader in the polls, which is Fire Country. It's amazing to see how it dominates, but also easy to see why, right? Very, very well written, so much drama and action packed into every episode, and this week was um, no different. So let's start with Genevieve's big decision to be homeschooled and move to Idaho um, with her biological family. And this was a huge moment for Jake, who was actually very blindsided by what happened. And I get why Genevieve feels like she needs a fresh start, but I also can see Jake's point of view where, he feels like he's losing Genevieve and that she's kind of slipping away from him. Um, it's one thing for her to connect with her family, but Idaho, I mean, and Jake's point of her just having us connected with her new siblings, definitely, is she ready to jump states and start living with a family she's never really met?
It's a big
But
thing.
and his reaction was so real. Like, he loves her, and he wants what's best for her, but at the same time, he doesn't want to lose her. So, I don't know. As a parent, what would you think, Jess?
I know it's so hard. Uh, This is going to be so random, but Jersey Shore, Snooki is actually currently trying to find her siblings because she was adopted
Mm,
back in the day. And so she had brought the conversation up to her parents, and they had a really hard time with it because she's in her 30s now. They've raised her whole life,
yeah,
and their worry is kind of like she's going to go off and maybe meet these siblings and they might hurt her or try to use her. And I could see that happening in this situation too. Like, like that's her parents, her real parents. They
correct.
raised her, and now she's going to go off to a whole new state where
Yeah,
she doesn't have her people that she knows and gonna have these new people that she just newly knows. I don't know. And especially when you're going off to like your first semester of school, like I feel like that's a really big transition on its own, never mind with people that you barely know. So
totally. Yeah, and
I
she's
think
so
it would be
young,
hard.
right? She's really
Yeah.
young. And it's not like she can just run back to Jake's house if things don't go well, right? Like, she has to hop on a plane. So, we have a question. Which character on Fire Country do you think has the most interesting story?
Ooh.
Wow. I don't know. I think they all do. It's a toss up. For me, I don't know. I think Bodhi and his, all the things that he's been through and the way that he's been able to use those things to, um, you know, change his life around is
Mhm.
huge. That one for
That's
me
a
is
big
huge.
one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be who I would say, just
Yeah.
because, like, I feel like he's had all the odds against him, especially after everything that happened, and then the way he's come out kind of, like, on top, it's
Yeah.
very interesting to me, so he's my favorite.
Totally. Yeah, lots of people's actually. So let's talk a little bit more about the episode. Of course, it was a heat wave and the AC was broken for a lot of people, but also on the inmate bus as they went to the station. But Manny is super stressed out because Gabrielle is avoiding him and dodging his phone call. She's not in the mood to reconnect. And then, of course, she has her own problems besides the heat. She just got her $8,000 wedding invoice
For
for
the
the wedding
wedding
she
that didn't
didn't even
happen.
have. So, and then Bodhi, of course, tries to ask her what's going on, to be that friend, that confidant. She tells them that they need to find a new normal,
Mhm.
and so that means that they can't be confidants anymore. So, yeah, she shut down
She
Manny.
completely shut him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was shocked. I'm like, I feel like her character is so strong that
Hmm.
but, like, I'm always shocked when she does these things because I'm like, I just don't see her doing them, but when she does, I'm like, "Yes." But she shut him down hard when he offered to help
She did.
with a place to stay. She was
Yeah.
definitely feeling very burned, and the tension is definitely simmering there.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
back to Bodhi, um, this episode was really huge for the dynamic between Bodhi and Jake, and Jake made it very clear this week that Bodhi this is Bodhi's final shot. Like,
Yes.
There's no more shots after this.
Mm-mm.
So we're going to see what happens with that. They're thrown into this high stakes elevator rescue with a power outage, which is insane. And I
Yeah.
thought that if anything, this would test his restraint. And it did.
Well, yeah, because Jake told him right off the bat, no more cowboy moves. Like, you
Mhm.
can't take risks anymore. You have to
Right.
play by the books. And um, the way things unfolded was insane. Like, it was so like Bodhi kept testing the limits, and Jake kept intentionally keeping him out of things, and Bodhi kept pushing back. Um, and that was tough for him. He was very tough, and he showed restraint mostly. But then in the middle of the whole rescue, the power kept going on and off, and every time the power went on, the elevator would move, and when it went off, it would drop again. So it was really intense, and they had to save a woman who was going into a diabetic coma.
Oh gosh.
And Bodhi played a big part in that. And then Vince stepped in and said to Jake that Bodhi is an asset, and whatever they have between them, they have to put it aside, and he has to include him. So he did. And in the end, he ended up saving Jake's life. So you could actually see the respect grow on Jake's face for Bodhi as it happened.
Right. Well, and that, what a difficult situation, right? They didn't know
Mhm.
when the power was going to go on or off, so they couldn't predict, what was going to happen. So that was pretty crazy. It was such a well done part of the
Yeah.
episode. So that was really awesome, and obviously great payoff for Bodhi.
Yeah.
So now he finally moves on to phase 3.
He does.
And then Jake opened up to him about Genevieve in Idaho, admitting that he might hate the idea, but knows that it could be exactly what she needs. Such a
Yeah.
good father.
He is a good
Like,
father.
for me, I'm like, if that was my kid, I'd be like, no, you're not going. But like, he knows he has to let go a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And even if he lets go and it's bad, she's going to come back to him, right? Because he's her safe place. So that was nice to hear him admit. And it was also such a big deal for him to lean on Bodhi.
It
Um,
was, and
yeah,
they had a little bonding moment there, and they're gonna have
yeah,
a popcorn and movie night to tell her, so
so special.
I know, that was awesome. I loved that, I really loved that.
Mhm.
And then let's not forget the emotional scene between Maddie and Gabriella where, she told him that she wants her family back, but she's just not there yet, and you could see the look of hurt all over Manny's face. Um, and then Vince, he's decided he's not ready to retire. Like, there's still lots to be done, and now with Bodhi back in the mix, he wants to kind of be there. So that was pretty huge.
Yeah, and speaking of Bodhi again, my favorite character. We have to talk about that final scene with him and Gabriella. You definitely cannot deny the spark. But
Oh,
she did. They had that ice bath that wasn't
woo!
so icy. If
Yeah,
anything, it was like a sauna.
it was. Yeah.
She tells him that she does want to be very, very good friends, but I think very, very good friends with benefits, in my opinion.
Well, I'm pretty sure I heard the Bodiella shippers freaking out from across the world, but it was definitely steamy love scene between them, and they can say that they want to be friends all they want, but like that's never going to be possible. So, I know I'm going to get flack for saying this probably, but this was another bad decision on Gabriella's part, right? Like she tried to put a boundary in place because she knew she needed to do better, and so did he, and she couldn't resist. So all the reasons she told Bodhi that they can't be together are still there. So I don't know. I feel like if they keep going like this, someone's gonna get burned. But it's fun in the meantime. It's definitely fun in the meantime.
Let us enjoy our moment.
I know. But I feel like I gotta be real at the same time, right? So
Yes.
and then all of that is happening while poor Sharon. So Sharon had been having symptoms of what she thought was like signs of heat stroke, but it wasn't normal. And even when things got calm, she was still feeling it. So she looked up her symptoms, and it looks like she could be going through some kidney transplant rejection. So poor Sharon. Um, that's going to be tough. Lots of emotional tension in the episode. The life and death rescue. Everything about this show is really heating up. Character arcs, especially, and I just feel like the show is on fire right now. So
I can't wait
yeah.
to keep watching.
I know. It'll be interesting to see where they take things going forward. Now that Bodhi's on to phase 3 and him and Gabrielle have had this moment together. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. So for those of you that just joined us, make sure to drop a comment for a chance to win some Spoiler TV merch. The contest is not at all affiliated with YouTube, but even just say hello, ask a question, and be entered to win. But now we're going to go into another hit, which is NCIS Origins. This show has definitely captured fans, new and old, not just NCIS fans. So Jess, what did you think of this week's episode?
Oh, another good one. I'm anxious every week to find out what's going to happen because I feel like Gibbs is literally so mysterious. And like I said, I've never watched before. This is my first time watching an NCIS show. So I have no clue anything. Like, I'm really going into it blindly. I haven't gone and tried to find any like spoilers that might lead to here. So I'm really blind so every week I get so excited when I find out a new thing. So, as mentioned before, we kind of found out last week what exactly happened the night or the day that he found out that his wife and daughter were murdered.
Yeah.
And then, after that, he kind of just like is willing to risk his life because he doesn't want to live anymore, right? Like, he's not going into battle trying to protect people. He's literally trying to go into battle to try to die. And it ends up he gets very hurt and is in a coma.
Oh, wow.
End of this episode is like him kind of fighting for his life in this coma, and his dad's there telling him, like, I you need me, like, I'm here to support you, like, you need to come out of this. And in the end he does wake up. So that was a great start to the episode because we found out a little bit more,
Yeah.
and then also an end to the episode because he does open his eyes, and obviously we know he's alive because we're watching, in real time versus this was from the past, but still, like, so intense, like such an intense moment. And like, what did his dad really do to help him, right? So I'm excited to keep watching that. But I
I
do think
bet.
that his father could only do so much to want him to live. Do you know what I mean? Like, he has to want that
Yeah.
himself. And I really do think that this position that he got with NCIS was exactly what he needed. Even if, he failed the mental health test and all that kind of stuff, I feel like this was where he needed to be in order to find like a love for something again. So that
Yeah.
was really exciting. And then this week took us back to a case that Franks had worked on like way in the past, and the guy was coming up to be executed. And it was the most intense, creepy episode ever. We saw Frank's in so many different emotional states. Like, I've never seen him like that. He was crazy. So basically, he worked this case alone back in the day. And as I said, he's coming up to be killed. And so, but he never gave the location of any of the bodies that he actually murdered. And so
Oh, wow.
he said, if you get me her sister here, like, I'll tell you where the body is. Like, I just want to talk to her sister. And Franks does not want to do that, but the sister is willing kind of to do anything because she wants to find out where the body is.
Okay.
So that they can lay her sister to rest. Like, totally understand. So
Yeah.
she's like, just let me come with you. So it looks like I'm going to speak to him, but I'm not actually going to. And well, he gives them the location of a body, but it wasn't hers.
Oh, wow.
And so they find out that it was not a male. Once they get all the bones and stuff tested, it was a male, and it ends up being his wife who he murdered, her ex-lover.
Oh. Oh
So
my
yeah,
God.
they kept like putting in these little tidbits and like kind of saying where her body was without saying it.
Okay.
And in the end, well, okay, so he goes and visits him with the sister because now he knows that they've already lied because he told them about the wrong body. I mean, it is a
Right.
body. So thankfully they did find somebody, but he's lied and not said where her sister's body is. So they go and visit him while he's in prison, and both of them lose their mind because again, he's like rambling stuff but not telling them where the body is. And he does tell the sister at the one point, which actually made me want to like reach into my screen and strangle him. He basically told her that she was the reason her sister died.
Oh,
And that,
wow.
yeah, and that because she took her out, you know, I don't know exactly where they're going, like to the bar or whatever for drinks.
Yeah.
That's why he killed her. Because why
Oh
did she
my.
need to be doing that? Because she has him. that was the moment I was ready to reach through the screen and strangle him. So I could only imagine how Frank's felt because he was
Yeah.
losing his mind. They had to be dragged out of there, both the sister and Frank's, because
Oh,
they
wow.
probably would have murdered him themselves. So that was intense. And then Frank ends up putting two and two together. He's sitting there, Gibbs, Lala, all of them are there, and they're kind of all brainstorming things. And then he gets it. And he brings this label from a wine bottle, and he literally gets there right before Hope dies. And
Oh.
he tells him, I know where you buried her, and I'm going to find her. And it was the biggest F you ever. And like literally
Yeah.
right after he says it, Hope died, right? Because they were executing him. So it was
Yeah.
like the perfect way for him to go. Although I kind of wished like he like got mad or something before he passed, but like he literally said it and then he closed his eyes. So
Okay.
that was such an intense episode. I
Yeah.
just couldn't believe it, but they found her body. I hope the sister was able to like, move on, and especially
Mhm.
after hearing all that stuff. I honestly don't, if I was in this situation, what I would have done, like if I really wanted my sister's body bad enough to go to somebody that I don't even know the right word for him. Creepy, terrible, says horrible things. Like you would have to be really strong and not take those things to heart. Like now is the sister going to be struggling with the fact that she thinks she murdered her um her sister when it was
Yeah.
her. Like why can't her and her sister go out to the bar and like have drinks? Like, it's not her fault that that happened, but
No. Hi,
absolutely
Brenda.
insane.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jess.
Absolutely insane. So that was such a good episode, and I can't wait to see what happens this next week.
I bet. If that,
Mhm.
the show sounds like a real popular prequel, and it's clear every time you talk about it, like, and it's making me want to jump in. So
Yeah,
I might just
yeah.
jump in.
It's
Hi,
an easy watch.
Val. It's all good. We're happy you're here.
Yes.
Yeah, so NCIS Origins Monday nights, definitely check that one out if you can. Another awesome episode. And
Mhm.
now we have our, of course, another poll leader, as always, is 911 on ABC. And this week's episode, Confessions, delivered some bombshells, but also lots of emotion. And so let's kick things off with the scene where Athena is called in to help with an unusual situation. So a woman's kind of threatening to dump her mother-in-law's ashes off her rooftop because she's fed up with her husband putting his mom first. this
Uh,
was this was a little wild.
this was literally my first, time watching this show, so I
Okay.
was like this was the first thing that came on, and I was like, "I'm not sure if this is a comedy or if it's, like, a serious drama." Like, I honestly didn't know. So I was literally dying. I'm like, "There's no way." But yeah, such a wild scene. Athena steps in, talks her down, and ultimately the couple realizes that it's time to part ways. Like,
Oh yeah.
they're not meant to be.
No.
I think it was a perfect way to set the tone of the episode, though, especially since it's called Confessions and
Yeah.
unburdening and dealing with what's holding each of them back. So, yeah, I honestly didn't know, but it did. After this, I was like, oh, okay, now it makes more sense. But yeah, at first I thought it was a comedy.
Yes. So speaking of confessions, Eddie had a real intense one. He went to a church to open up about,
Mhm.
his guilt and his struggles with Christopher. And you can feel how torn he is. And the father suggests he try prayer, which, you know, can be helpful for some people, unhelpful for others. And people in Eddie's position too, praying can be a little touchy, right? So it's one of those moments where though Eddie realizes just how much he's carrying, how much baggage he's carrying emotionally, and it's a powerful moment. Eddie puts on a brave face, but he's dealing with a lot internally, and I kind of think we've always kind of felt that. And then meanwhile, Maddie and Jimmy are tackling a very different life decision. She suggests having another kid, which catches him off guard.
Mhm.
And yeah,
I that like just even as a person, like, you have one and then you're like, you realize how difficult one is and you're like, do I want to do this again? Not even just like a child being difficult, right? It's hard on you. And she does talk about that, her postpartum depression, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And not only does it affect her, but it affects her husband, right? So it's
Absolutely.
such a good storyline to actually insert in here because it's so real life.
Yes.
Um, and it kind of goes on the whole episode, but his Timmy's reaction was super mixed because naturally he's worried again, like I said, after her postpartum depression and all that kind of stuff. But by the end of the episode, after witnessing the heartwarming one that I cannot wait to talk about down the line, of the brother saving the other brother,
Yeah.
I think it made him realize that he does want his daughter to have a sister or a brother,
Yeah.
just have that sibling bond. And I know, like, it's not guaranteed that they're going to like each other forever or even like each other at all, but it's still something that you can provide your child that, no money can buy.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm. And then
And
the twist
then
that we got,
yes. Yes.
she's
Big
already
twist.
pregnant.
She's already pregnant.
I was so excited. And yeah, like I said, I've never watched the show, but I just loved them together. And so I'm excited for them to bring another child onto the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good that, they both promised to be honest this time around, and they've grown. They've grown so much as people, as a couple, and this time around I think it's going to be really sweet and perfect for them.
Hmm.
And then we have Buck, who's celebrating 6 months with Tommy, and this is kind of where the twist really hit. So Tommy casually drops that he was once engaged to Abby, who is Buck's ex, who had a huge impact on his life.
I did love this twist. I was
Wow.
like,
Didn't
whoa,
see that
okay
coming.
then.
Yeah.
It's like this is what I mean. Like in the beginning, I was like, this is a comedy. And then this kind of stuff started happening, and I'm like, okay, it is not a comedy. This is real life.
No.
Like,
Mhm.
it's more serious. But you could see how shocked Buck was. Like his
Oh,
face
yeah.
said it all. It was written all over it. But he was such an important part, or she was such an important part of his journey. So finding out that Tommy had this past with her kind of really rattled him. I don't blame him. I would be
Yeah.
rattled too. Like that's a
Absolutely.
lot. And even the way he brought it up was kind of so casually. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
just a lot. But he brings up all these insecurities that he has. But it definitely is. It was a cool way to see how Buck reflected on how much he's grown since all that had happened.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And, of course, he vented to Maddie and Josh about it, which is probably a good thing because they helped him see things from Tommy's perspective. And they pointed out how much Buck has grown, and they realized that he's probably afraid of getting hurt, which is true, right? Like he's afraid of getting hurt. And this is classic him. This is what he does. And he overthinks about things, and he's incredibly caring to a fault, I find. But by the end of the day, Buck decides he's going to be honest with Tommy about how Abby impacted him. And he even asks Tommy to move in. But Tommy turns him down. Um, he says he was Buck's first gay relationship, and he
Hmm.
doesn't think that Buck's really ready to settle down at this point. And he didn't want to get his own heart broken. And
When I
so,
could see here in our comments, we have somebody saying Valerie does not like Tommy at all for Buck. And she also said that
well,
this storyline started off as a fan theory 2 years ago, and now it's actually coming to life. That's so crazy.
yeah, it is. But they're not going to be together because Lou Ferrigno Jr. is leaving 911.
Oh wow, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So, he did some really impactful interviews actually this week about his character. He actually he really wanted people um he actually didn't know this was how they were going to get rid of the character. Like this was how they were going to end it, was this breakup. And so he was like, please don't hate me, because he
Yeah,
really thought that people were going to be really upset. But I think that Buck and Tommy fans are probably upset over this one, but I think Buddy fans are probably happy that that relationship can now blossom. So
yeah,
it's like there's a divide there, right? Like there's going to be people who love this, there's going to be people who hate this. Um, I agree, Val. The breakup was abrupt. It felt like it came out of nowhere, especially since you didn't see it coming. But Buddy fans, this is your moment. I don't
well,
know.
that makes me wonder, is like, is he going to go straight into something with him, or is it going to be like, is it going to be abrupt like this, or is it going to take him some time?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see how they
It
play it
will
out.
be. It will be.
Yeah.
I think he does need a little bit of time. I know buddy shippers are not gonna like me for saying that, but I just always feel like, exactly, Val. I feel like everybody needs to figure out who they are again outside of the relationship they were just in before they
Yeah.
can run right into something, because again, this was abrupt. She didn't see it coming. and to jump right into something will never be a good idea, but
Right.
I definitely want to see where they're taking this for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then this episode did touch on Eddie's continued journey towards his self and encourages him that he needs to find joy in his life.
Yeah.
It's definitely a really impactful message. And that was probably my favorite part of the episode, honestly. It was
Yeah.
so good. And I think he really needed to hear that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, maybe now that he has reached this point in his life, he will find some joy and then be ready for a relationship.
I agree, Val. I agree. You like realizing your sexuality when you're older in life, you really need to find out who you are. Go ahead,
And
Jess.
I loved the comment about how there was finding out you were, gay pre-Glee and finding out you were gay post-Glee and how they were two different things.
Yeah.
And his comment, I didn't watch Glee. I was
I
like,
loved the
okay,
Glee reference. Just so
you
I was
did.
a huge Glee fan. I
You
was
were.
like, oh my
I loved
God.
it too. It like brought me, honestly, it caught my attention because I'm like, wow, Glee had been on like so long ago and it was
It's
such a
been
good show. But
forever.
even just saying how there was two different times, because really it is like prior, it was a lot different than how it is currently, right? So
Yeah. It's sure,
yeah.
yeah, that speech was everything. It's true, you're right, because those were different times back then, and now it's more accepted. I mean, yes
Yeah,
and no, look at the
depending how you
American
see it. Yeah.
landscape that's going on. I don't know, that really scares me, but overall, it's definitely a much better time for people to come out. It's always gonna be a scary thing, but yeah, he needs some time. Uh, we're not gonna hurt you for not watching Glee,
I didn't watch Glee either.
but if you want something to binge, do it. It's hokey as hell, but I loved every minute of it. But I was also a music teacher, so like choir teacher, so like I was hooked in for that. And then I loved Court Monteith, but we're getting off on a different tangent here.
Yes.
But I felt like the episode was a lot about letting go of past pain, and embracing the future and the present and the good things that could happen in life. And I don't know, it was just such a really it was
Impactful.
an emotional
Yeah.
hour, but I think it's gonna set people up to for some good things to happen next, so,
Yes.
yeah, and, moving on to your fave, which is Grey's Anatomy. I mean, I have my own opinions on this one, but we're gonna let you have your moment.
Yes. Okay, so I
This
obviously
was
love Sophia Bush.
this
I
was
love her.
one of the highest rated in our poll for what to talk about this week, so lots of people are tuning in. Just tell us about it.
And
What did you think,
I'm
Dr.
sure we are
Cass
getting
Beckman?
some new people coming on too that likes just Sophia, right? So you
Yeah,
got
oh,
your
yeah.
old people and your new people, but shaking it up. But again, I know we've talked about this. It's weird to be bringing on somebody new when you have so many main characters
Yeah.
and they're not getting enough airtime because of budget cuts and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, and
I
we have
know
some
my
Station
Station
19 fans.
19 peeps. Oh, I'm with you.
Us
I'm with
too.
you. Jess, on the
Yeah,
other
I
hand.
loved Station 19. I loved
Yeah,
Station
yeah.
19, but I also love
Good.
Grey's, and I can't give up on it.
I
But so anyway,
You're
so the
entitled to your
episode,
opinion.
yeah, so the episode starts off with Sophia Bush, and Teddy and Owen and Sophia Bush's husband. I guess her name is Dr. Beckman,
Yeah.
and they are going to dinner, and then of course both men get called away. So the men leave, and then the girls decide they don't want to stay at this fancy restaurant. Let's go somewhere we can have like beer, wine, like fried French fries. So they leave and go and do that. I think this was at the beginning. I thought this was like a great thing for Teddy because she's been kind of struggling in her relationship, feeling like she has to like plan out and schedule time for her husband. She's so busy at work. Plus they have kids. Totally
Yeah.
understand that kind of life. It's crazy, and so she's just kind of telling Dr. Beckman how she feels, and Dr. Beckman's like, "Oh, I was in that same position." And she kind of is like, "Oh, so what did you do?" And they're like, "Well, we opened up our marriage." And so she's like, "We date other people." And I was like, "Okay."
Hmm.
Because at first I thought Sophia Bush was coming on as a lesbian. She is not a lesbian. I don't think. I think she likes both sides. So that was a little bit shocking to me. I was not expecting that. Like I said, I thought she was coming in as a lesbian, not somebody who is
Yeah.
married. Again, I don't
Hang
really
on a
read this stuff.
second. Did she come on as someone the characters already knew?
Yeah. No, no,
Okay.
no.
Oh,
Well, I
no.
think
Oh,
they
she's
kind of
new.
made it seem like they knew her because she
Okay.
like works, yeah, at one of the hospitals.
Okay.
But
Okay.
uh, yeah, so she came on, and it ended up happening that somehow in the conversation, something got lost in translation, and she thought Teddy was into her and planned to kiss right on Teddy. And Teddy was like, she did not kiss her back when she was like, I don't know what vibes you're getting, but that's not them. And so I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So that's not the vibe, but like such a good wife. She went back, told Owen,
Oh,
he
wow.
kissed me. How weird, it was. And
Well,
she's
she
like,
didn't do anything wrong.
no. Well,
Yeah.
he's like, well, what vibes were you giving her that
Hmm.
made her want to kiss you?
I
So now
hate
he's
that.
mad.
Yeah, I hate
Oh my
that.
God.
Always blame the woman. Well,
Yeah.
both women in this case, but
Yeah, so he
yeah.
didn't take it well. So we'll see what happens there, and also like where Sophia Bush goes from here. Because again, like I said, I thought she was coming on as a lesbian, and maybe she was gonna be with Dr. Shepard, but
Yeah.
maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. That's just what I thought was gonna happen. So we'll
Okay.
see what happens with her. And then we see in this episode Joe Wilson struggling, and I feel so bad for her. I love her character. I feel like she's kind of like been through the ringer. She was married to Alex Krev, and then he just went away, like,
Yeah,
and the way he made it like sound like he left with his previous person from the show, and she had kids and didn't tell him, and it was just crazy. So I feel like she always gets kind of the crappy end. And so in this episode you could really see her struggling. She's
mm.
just so used to people leaving her, and also her daughter is sick, and she um instead of wanting her mom, she wanted her daycare provider, which is
Oh
so hard.
boy.
Like, people work a lot as it is, but like people like doctors or people who work the longer shifts, you really are away from your children for a long time, and you're expecting these daycare providers to take care of them, and they become closer to them sometimes because you're not around as much. So that's
That's right.
really, really hard for her to have to deal with. And she's
Mhm.
struggling, like, don't even have time for my one child. How am I going to have time for the twins that are coming?
Oof.
That her and are having, and thinking Link's not going to stay around. So I really, really felt for her this episode, and her and Amelia end up having this great chat, and I think it does help her a little bit, and it was exactly what she needed. So that was nice to see Amelia show some, or like, just share some things that she could see from the outside that could have potentially helped her. So that was a really nice moment for me, but I hope that Joe can get over this quickly. I need to see her happy. I feel
That
so
sounds
bad
like
for
a
her.
really relatable storyline for so many people.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
even me, like, I don't even
Yeah.
work insane hours, and I'm like, how do I know it's good for my kids to go to like daycare and preschool, and but like how do I give away that time when they're this little and all they want is
Yeah.
me, when
Mhm.
eventually they're going to want only their friends.
Yeah,
And
that's so
it
true.
just is so hard for me. I struggle with that. So it was nice to watch that portrayed on TV. And
Mhm.
sometimes, how much you get paid or anything like that
Doesn't
doesn't trump
matter.
your family, right? So we'll see if she ends up working as much as she does still, or if she's going to
Yeah.
maybe take a step back. Who knows? And then, like I said, we're going to lose some people. And so the first one we're losing is Levi. And I'm
Oh,
so sad.
yeah.
But the episode started out great for him. He got an offer from Grace Sloan to be an attending. And
That's
he was,
exciting.
I don't want to take it. Can I do a trial? Like, I'm not sure what I want to do yet. Because at this time, he also has an offer from Texas for a year program doing peds.
Okay.
And so he does the trial run, and he completely knocks it out of the park. He was so good. He went above and beyond. Yes, I see in the
Brenda,
comments
yes.
this character.
Uh-huh.
This episode really made me realize how much I loved him. Like, I always knew I loved him, but he's just like, he's so different and something that the show doesn't really have. So I'm really sad that we're going to lose him.
Yeah.
Uh, and even just the way we're losing him, I'm happy for him because he's going to, go and do what he really wants to do and what
Right.
his calling is. And even though it's only a year and there's no guarantee that they're going to hire him on after, like, he's willing to take that risk because of how much he loves that part of the job versus
Yeah.
I think it was general surgery his attending
Mm.
position was for. So general surgery, peds, who doesn't want to work with some kids, although it can definitely be heartbreaking, I'm sure.
Oh, but I
But
feel like in those jobs, like, you have to love what you do,
yeah,
and if he doesn't love what he does, that's right, Brenda. I agree. Leave the door open for sure.
but I
But
think we're going to see a kill off coming on
oh
somebody.
god.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Oof.
yeah, so he does end up taking the job in Texas,
Okay.
and so it's going to be very interesting to see what, like, so I don't think this was his last episode. I think we might
Okay.
see him back least one more because he didn't tell his partner James that he was taking it. The last part you see of him and James is he's telling him that he got offered the attending position. So
Okay.
I think we'll still see him one more time. I hope. I don't want him gone yet. I wasn't ready for that. I
I
was so
haven't seen
emotional.
any exit interviews, so this
Okay.
likely
Yeah, and I
wasn't.
was
Yeah.
so emotional the last episode or the last scene of him and just him saying goodbye to his like work bestie that they've come on from the beginning
Oh
together.
my
So
Lord.
that was such an emotional part. I was starting to cry. I'm like, oh my God. That's how I knew I really liked him because I don't cry for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was so special. Yeah. And then we get Yasuda. This is who I said I think is going to get killed off. So it was such a good episode for her. I was so excited, and then the way it ended. But anyway, so she finally got the good news that her sister was going to be discharged. So her sister has cancer, so they've been in the hospital dealing with that, and she's kind of been at her sister's side since it happened. And then instead of sleeping, she went and helped save a patient's life, which kept her up. And then she also ends up talking to Jules, and they like after she saves the patient's life and they decide that they do miss each other and miss what they had and they rekindle things.
Yeah.
And also I should mention that she saved the patient's life and then got to get in on a surgery. So she
Oh,
really wasn't
wow.
sleeping. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
what we have to remember. This girl was up all night. She goes to get her sister who is well rested and they leave. And the cliffhanger we were left on is her sister talking to Yasuda and telling her, you know, hey, like, what about this and this and this? And realizes Yasuda's not talking to her because Yasuda fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh, shoot.
And you see them get into a massive accident. And it kind of ends with them both all bloody. So
Oof.
I've seen some promo pics and stuff for next week, and I think this is us losing her.
And
I
Grace likes to do those shocking deaths,
Well,
don't
and
they?
I also read somewhere too. Again, I don't normally search for these things, but I read somewhere that apparently Levi and her were the two that were exiting this season confirmed.
Okay.
So I guess Levi gets the good exit, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yasuda gets the crappy one. But Levi's been on longer. I'm all for him getting a happy ending. But still really sad if she goes just by dying from this car accident. So we'll
Especially
see
when
what
things had
happens.
been going so well. That's just like,
Yeah. And
I don't
rekindling
know.
things with Jules.
That
Like, you know,
stings.
she kind of put it on the back burner once she found out her sister was sick. And, you know, she put her life on hold to take care of her sister. And she was finally doing something for herself. And then literally less than 24 hours later, she could
Dies.
possibly, and I'm
Possibly.
not sure if she dies or not. Yeah. Like she might come back and then she heals and she decides to leave on her own. I don't know, but it didn't look good.
I don't see
So,
them giving two people an easy walk off. I just
yeah.
feel like, knowing what I know about the showrunner and the history there, I feel like
And we
someone's
haven't
got to
had a
die.
dramatic death in a while.
Someone's got
Like,
to
I feel
die.
like I've been sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for it.
Yeah.
Who's leaving? And it's still not Owen Hunt.
Gosh, I
But
know.
yeah, so that was a happy, sad, scary episode. So we'll
Yeah.
see what next week has in store. And I'm excited to see where Sophia Bush's character goes because, like I said, I thought she was coming in completely different. So I have no clue what they're going to do with
Now,
her.
is she recurring? Is she on for the rest of the season? I don't
I
know.
think
We'll have to
she's,
look into that.
yeah, I'm not sure. My
Yeah.
understanding is she was on as a character now,
Okay.
but I
Yeah.
might be
I'm
wrong.
gonna take a look. It'd be interesting. Yeah, for sure. And to like, I should check out the ratings for that episode too, because Gray's
Oh, she
ratings
is
hadn't.
recurring.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah.
Gray's
So yeah,
ratings
check.
hadn't been so great. Thanks, Brenda. They hadn't been so great, so I'd be interested to see if she helps pick those up.
Yeah.
Because she does have a good following, right? And people love
How
her.
do you think,
So
how do you think Chicago PD got all their viewers before?
yeah,
I think a lot of them were from her, right? Because all of
yeah.
the other actors on the show, I didn't know them from anywhere.
Hmm.
Now
I
I love them
agree.
all. I didn't know them. I watched the show because of her, and
That's
now I
right.
watch FBI because of Jesse. So
People follow their favorite characters. It's just a fact. So
she was great on PD. I was
yeah.
very sad when she left. That was very heartbreaking for me because she was the only reason I went to start watching it, and then she left. And even I feel like she left and didn't like she kind of got a happy ending, but not really. Like I really wanted her and Jesse to end up together. So yeah, that was a big bummer.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I see someone else
Yeah,
also started
Val. Yeah,
FBI
you're not the
because of
only
Jesse.
one.
See, me
That's
too.
so has ratings have gotten much higher. It's
Wow.
outperforming the original FBI and FBI Most Wanted, that's for sure, show. So,
Yeah, and
and definitely
Chicago
on our
PD
site.
is not the same as it used to be. And like except like I said, I like how the characters mesh, but there's just something missing. Like they
Yeah.
lost too many good people
Yeah.
who were big, and now the characters are kind of just mediocre. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's nobody big like those ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still enjoy watching it. I mean, I love Voight. I think he's such a good actor,
You know
and
that you're
he.
in the minority there, right?
Oh my! I believe him. Like I watch him
Okay,
on the TV, and if I saw him in person, I would actually think he was gonna murder me.
no, I know. People freaking hate him. They just think that they waste too much time on him, and it's always poor Voight. Like,
I could
yeah,
see that,
yeah,
but he's
but
really one of the only big ones left.
that's true. Yeah,
You know, they lost.
yeah,
Tracy's gone, Jesse's gone, Sophia's gone. Like, who
yeah.
else are we gonna lose? You know, and how many more people can you bring in that are?
Hello, anonymous.
Oh,
No, I don't think we want. Can we block that? I don't know how to block comments. Report. 1 second. Yeah, I can do it. Sorry about that, guys. There's always somebody that has to come on and be a troll.
right.
Um. Okay.
Shall we get into
We
found?
are getting into Found. Found was huge this week as well. The season has been amazing. Um, so far this year, season 2 has just been, honestly, I was worried because I thought, you know, with Sir kind of on the loose now, how much longer can they keep this going? But like eventually he's got to be arrested, right? But you know what? They're really, really showing me that they can keep this going and still have some really awesome storylines. So, um, this episode really peeled back the layers on so many characters. So, it kicked off with Margaret's arrest at the police station. She attacked Raphael, who was the train station worker, who was throwing away her missing son's flyers because, again, her son's missing, has been missing for a long time. And oh my gosh, how do I? Okay. I think I was able to block them. All right. So the whole team, personal lives are getting messy. So Margaret lost it. She's feeling helpless, and those flyers were kind of her last hope. And now there's a restraining order against her. So that's a problem. And her access to the train station is cut off, which is a big blow for her. And like I said, everyone's personal lives are getting messy. So Dan is overcompensating with Ethan. Oh, you don't watch Found, Val? Oh, you have to watch it. And I agree, Brenda, every week. Dan is overcompensating with Ethan because of the stolen credit card incident with Sir. And poor Lacey is struggling big time. So, she wants to act like she's tough and she has it all together. And I really do feel like she is a strong person. But what she's been through is inevitably going to affect her. And she's really having a lot of memories from her past abduction from Sir. So, no one else seems to believe her fully, which is exactly what happened to her when she was a kid, when she stopped talking, right? So Gabby tries to be there for her, tries to show her, reassure her that she's seen as strong and not brave and broken because she really doesn't want her to feel that way. And Gabby knows what it's like to have been abducted by Sir because she was too. And on top of that, we meet Jocelyn Mosley, whose daughter is also named Gabby. There's another Gabby Mosley. Like, what the heck, right? And she's gone missing. So she's convinced Sir's responsible. Everyone's convinced Sir's responsible, believing he's taken her daughter to replace his Gabby because he's like obsessed with Gabby. The case gets complicated. Jocelyn reveals she found chloroform in her daughter's room, and making it seem like this wasn't just your ordinary kidnapping. The team isn't sure if Sir's behind it, but Lacey's intuition says otherwise. And Gabby, of course, is adamant that Sir isn't involved. And things just keep getting more complicated as the episode unfolded. So Trent tries to pin some criminal charges on Gabby for going through Elizabeth's room, but the family hired her. So I'm just going to say it is going to be very hard for Trent to redeem himself as a character. I feel like he's just shown to be this big bad word there for the first, like, he's not, I get that he's hurt. I get that Gabby hurt him, but he's not seeing the bigger picture. Like, she has had so much trauma in her life. And this need to get her for what she did is really starting to make him seem like a bad, bad, bad person. So everyone's juggling so much. Zeke, Dan, Lacey, everyone's pulling together to help keep Gabby protected, all while hunting for answers on Elizabeth. And then we get to see the scene where Sir visits the office and casually interacts with Margaret. He's calm, he's taunting her, and claiming he didn't take the missing girl. And he's toying with everyone. And just when everyone's suspicions kind of steer away from him, the twist hits. The missing girl actually kidnapped her friend. And Sir manipulated the whole situation to make himself look like the hero, even making a video where he rescues Charlotte, the friend. So that reveal was wild. The twists in this show are wild. And just when we thought we understood Sir's motives, he throws us another curveball. So he's still several steps ahead. Gabby is frustrated, of course. And by the end of the episode, there's this bittersweet moment between Gabby and Lacey as they patch things up, and Lacey finally admits that she needs help. And she can't take over Gabby's responsibilities at the office because she's not well. And Dan also opens up to Ethan, which was very long overdue. So this season has already taken us through the emotional ringer, and I'm pretty sure we're only 5 episodes in. We're getting so much character depth from these characters, more so than season 1, I feel. Gabby's resilience, Lacey's trauma and her strength through it all, Dan's guilt, and then the way that Trent is actually acting like a threat. And then in some cases, he's still super helpful. Um, and then there's Sir making, like, still going on about his sick mind games. But that's what makes this show so great. It's about these deeply personal journeys. It's not just about the plot. And I just feel like every episode builds on the last and then gets even better. And there's a breaking point that's going to happen here for all of them, especially Margaret. And I don't feel like that arrest was her breaking point. I feel like there's more to come, and it's taking us on such a ride. I look forward to watching it every week. This is one of the only shows besides Tracker, that I literally count down the days to watch. So, if you're not watching Found, you should be watching NBC's Found. It airs on Thursday nights, I believe, at 8:00. No, sorry, 9:00 Central, 10:00 Eastern. So it is on kind of late, but PVR it and watch it the next day. Like, it's literally one you should get into, and it's only the beginning of season 2, so lots of time to catch up.
I keep seeing commercials for it, so.
Yeah. So, and Paul Gosselaar, like, it's at first I never thought that I would be able to see him in this role, just knowing him from Saved by the Bell, but he has shown that he has the ability. He has what it takes to be this character. And yeah, watch it. It's gonna hook you. It's so good.
I feel like she just said there are ads everywhere. I feel like they're really pushing it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they don't have, like, a lot of viewers or what, but I just feel like I've been seeing it everywhere. I saw it at the dentist, the doctor's office, like, I've been seeing it literally everywhere. And I don't watch TV live ever, so I don't see it there. So, but I've been seeing it, so I feel like they are really pushing it.
Well, good on them, because there's so many shows who do zero advertising, and then they wonder, Zach Morris, yeah. There's so many shows that do zero advertising, then they wonder why their ratings go down. Like, this is what shows should be doing, because we're in the time where you have to fight to get people to watch your show. So,
for sure.
Another huge hit that I'll touch on briefly was Superman and Lois. Last week's episode was big. So Lex Luthor still trying to get his building. He starts off really angry because his daughter wanted him to just call off what he was doing and just work on his relationship with her, and he threw her to the side. And his want and his need for revenge on Lois and Clark is consuming him right now. And so he storms into Lana's. I agree, Ian. I agree. It's the last season for Superman and Lois. I feel like there's more story to tell. I just know this is the CW, right? They're really trying to move away from their own scripted programming because it costs them money. And they're moving on to getting shows that are already produced, such as Sullivan's Crossing. It's produced in Canada, right? So, but anyway, so he storms into Lana's building demanding that she cut back the restraints that the city has in place, the zoning restraints that the city has in place. And she, in Lana fashion, stands her ground. And I just kept screaming at the TV, he's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. And sure enough, but Lex was totally unhinged. And his assistant, Amanda, Lois tries to warn her, and she's starting to see the cracks. So I'm thinking, okay, then maybe she's going to start seeing who he really is. And without her, who knows if he can keep this going? But he's so consumed with vengeance. It's actually really scary. And then Lois and Clark are really trying hard to find the information they need to put him behind bars so they can stop him from this madness. Meanwhile, Jordan is getting a little too crazy with his powers, trying to save everyone in one day. It's interesting. One thing I really liked about this episode was the symbolism of Clark's hair going gray, because when he was Superman, he was invincible. And now you're seeing that he's got that human side now, and he's aging just like everybody else, and how much that's hitting him as a person and the toll that that's placing on him. But I thought it was really beautiful where that moment between him and Lois, where she talked about them eight growing old together. It was just really touching. But, Clark still has that power in him. And just as I predicted, Lex sent Otis over to Lana's house to kill her. Luckily, actually, he turned the gas on the stove. Luckily, she smelt it and was it because her daughter was in the house, and they were able to get out. But Otis was about to kill her, and her daughter saved her and got him with a steel bat. So she's lucky that happened. But this just goes to show that Lex is not going to back down, and Clark lost it. He knows he doesn't have his powers, and in fact, Lex also turned the streetlights red to further diminish his powers. But Clark beat the tar out of Lex Luthor, like the tar. And the only thing that stopped him was his family was watching, his sons and Lois, and he did not want his kids to see him kill somebody, right? So he stopped himself and walked away. But that he's gone too far here. He knows that too, because at the end he spoke about it, about how now he's angered Lex more, and this is going to cost the family. But in the end, I thought Amanda would see the light, and she didn't. She told Lex she's in this with him till the end, and she has a plan to take down the Kents. So I don't know. I'm super excited to see. It's like I don't want the episodes to come because then the show's going to be over. But then I'm so excited to see that.
Do we know how many episodes are left in this one?
I believe there's just over half, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Okay.
So it's going pretty quick. So yeah. And like I said, who knows? Maybe another network will pick it up, or there'll be a spinoff of some sort. But
for sure. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Sounds like they might not be able to conclude it all before it ends.
Who knows?
So
Exactly.
We'll see.
But there was so much good TV this week. And I'm so glad that our viewers decided what we should discuss, because it helped us narrow things down. And so we're going to do our other poll earlier this week for the shows that we discussed on the next episode. I absolutely love being live today and getting to interact with people. And I think we're going to do a live episode every month maybe, and then just kind of see if we can get some more interaction with our listeners, because I think it'll be a great way for us to get to know people, but also what people want to hear about. So that's it for today. Jessica, what are you excited about for this week in TV?
Well, besides The Grinch, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and Merry Exciting Christmas on repeat, I'm excited to watch Grey's Anatomy again, and hopefully Sophia's character is on this week, because like I said, not all the characters are on every week, so it'll be interesting to see if she is, and maybe she will be. Who knows? And then I'm excited again for NCIS Origins, and then all my Hallmark Christmas movies.
Thanks, guys. We will definitely do a live a month. I think it'll be awesome.
Oh, and Yellowstone.
And Yellowstone starts tonight, season 5B. Starts tonight, season 5B.
And also, Christina has an exciting phone interview that she will be doing.
I will be talking to Morgan Cohan tomorrow from Sullivan's Crossing. Super excited. No, you don't, Val.
No,
Jessica did not watch.
I have no clue about. No. I've never watched any of those shows, and I'm addicted.
So yeah, jump on in. But I get to interview Morgan Cohan tomorrow. She plays Maggie on Sullivan's Crossing. I'm super pumped for that one. So That one will be coming to you as well. Couple other big things. The Penguin airs its season finale tonight. Oh yeah, Val, get in on that one. If we wanted to talk about the Outer Banks tonight, but then we thought maybe we'd wait until people had more time to watch the second half of Ian, keep on for the ride. Keep on for the
Okay,
ride.
but also, Valerie, thank you so much for making that. I loved The Hating Game. I read the book and then I watched the movie, and I never put two and two together that those are the same people.
Yeah.
I'm shook. I can't believe that. Wow, thanks for putting that,
I've
saying that, because
never seen it.
what a shock. That is
Okay.
two completely different characters. He is very good in this one too. That one, he's more like the flirty, troublemaker guy. This one, he's serious. He's dark.
He
Like,
flexes more here, yeah.
very mysterious, but such a good character.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
I
love
love
those
that.
connections. So
Yeah.
yeah, The Penguin airs its season finale tonight. Another couple shows are premiering this week. St. Denis Medical on NBC is a half-hour mockumentary. I've seen it. It is hilarious. You should tune in, especially if you're in the medical field. You're gonna love, love, love this show. It's an easy watch. It premieres with 2 back-to-back episodes on Tuesday. Wednesday, Bad Sisters comes back on Apple TV, which I know lots of people love. Big one coming to Prime Video on the 14th, Cross, which is about the Alexander Cross series. So that is another big one that's coming up. And yeah, so lots of good
And
TV
Outer
coming up this
Banks.
week.
We'll
And
talk
Outer
about
Banks.
that
If
next
you
week.
haven't had a chance to watch the second part of season 4 yet, do it, because we're going to dissect it next week. All is all I can say.
Hmm.
But tune in, because I don't want to give you guys. Yes, Brenda. Yes, I'm trying to get him next because I've already spoken to the showrunner. I've spoken to Reed Price, who plays Rob Shandon. Now I'll be speaking to Morgan. Chad, Michael Murray, and Scott are my next two that I really want to talk to. So
Come on, Chad. Come on.
I know I'm gonna see. I'm really in with their PR personnel. So I'm really hoping that I can get those two to happen. But I will be posting the Morgan. You'll have to wait for that interview because I want to ask her about the finale, and I can't post it then till after it airs on the CW. So you'll have to wait a little while to get to the interview, but it'll be
But
worth the
send
wait.
Christina any questions you might have.
Yeah, please
Especially if
send
you're
me any
Canadian.
questions. Yeah.
And watch the finale.
Yeah, and watch Canadians. If you've seen it already, great. Ask me about the finale. Americans, you can ask any questions that you have so far, and I'll be sure to ask Morgan. So thanks so
Hey,
much, everyone, for
that
being
was
with
so
us tonight.
fun.
We will announce the winners on the 3 winners on our Twitter page at the SpoilerTV Pod and on our Instagram page at the SpoilerTV Podcast. Please follow both. You can find those links in the show notes, and lots of great, exciting things coming up. So we hope to see you again on our next live.
Yes, I hope so. That
All
was fun.
right. Have a great night,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.